Okie dokie. Oh, sounds stupid. I want the okie dokie. I'll cut that out later. Alright guys, so here is lesson 2 of our video series, web series, class series. I don't know, I haven't given it a catchy title yet. Anyway, so obviously last lesson you watched that video and we all did that class. Quick recap. Every lesson, like I said, is going to have individual learning outcomes. So we start a lesson, we have a set number of things to do, and we finish it by the end of that time, so that way we're all on track. Obviously, we're building towards a bigger project, which I won't spoil yet. That'll be a few lessons away. So anyway, lesson 2. So this one will probably go over 2 lessons. So that the week that we have are 2 lessons, because we're going to do a bit of an intro. We're going to actually start editing and creating some models, some basic stuff. Another thing I want to introduce to you is like the level system. So I can play this really. Alright, that's enough. I'll just turn it down. Anyway. So what the level system is there'll be 2 levels in each of these classes. And by levels I mean, I guess, levels of difficulty, like level 1 and level 2. So level 1 is really for everyone. It's kind of like the beginner level. If you haven't done this before, which will be 99% of you, that'll be the beginner level. And that's something that the whole class is going to work on, and you all need to achieve and get that level sorted. Level 2 is for the few of you that are really more advanced in this and have been doing it, because obviously you can do Blender at home. I know quite a few of you are, and want to kind of really I'm looking for words, Justine. Branch out? No. What's it? Give me a word. Well, it's like when they're doing something. They're challenging themselves.
Further their skills?
Yeah, further your skills. Or challenge yourself. So that's what level 2 is all about, okay?
Yourself to a new level.
That sounds weird. It sounds like a commercial. So to basically challenge yourself. So you'll be using the same fundamentals that you'll be learning. So these videos, still watch this video obviously, and it'll still teach you the stuff, except where I'll be giving out resources or examples or models or stuff to build from, you'll be choosing your own, and you'll be able to make them as difficult as you like. Okay, so I'll teach you the skills to do that, and then you can choose how you want to tackle it. But again, obviously level 2 is for those that want to, it'll probably take more time than we have in class. So you can do it at home with Blender. And the good thing with Blender, like I said, it's a free program, and you don't have to install it. It runs anywhere. So you can just take the Blender program and put it on any computer, and it just works. And you can take your Blender files, your .blend files, and you can bring them to school and work on them. So that's our level system, level 1, level 2. So all these videos will be level 1, and the resource will be level 1, but I'll say, level 2 can try this, or level 2 can try that. So that's what that is. And of course, you're in charge of that. But, we all need to obviously meet our goals for each lesson. So if you want to tackle a level 2 version of it, you've got to be confident that you can do it, or that you're going to spend the time at home, or like I said, I'm happy to help you out at lunchtime, recesses, spares, whatever. We can do that, okay? But you still need to kind of meet them at the same time. So it's a bit more of a challenge, but hopefully level 2ers will take that on. So let's get into what we're doing today. So Blender. Okay, so here's Blender. Opening it up. Again, recording this at home, so you probably hear some home noises. And I'll generally ask Justine to help me out to see if she can bring me grapes or something. She won't bring me grapes.
Washing.
Oh, just doing the washing. It's nice of her. So here we go. So what we're going to be doing today, and what I touched upon last class, is we're actually going to start doing some modeling, okay? And it's going to be low poly modeling, okay? And this is what's called box modeling. It's what you'll use in video games. It's what you'll use in kind of a lot of modeling animation stuff, because you're basically building with boxes and extruding and cutting and pulling these out, kind of like modeling with clay, but in the computer without clay. So kind of not like modeling like clay at all, but yeah, you get the idea. So that's what we're going to be doing. And yeah, I'll show you the tools that we'll be using to do that. So again, I'm only going to touch on those tools that we need to model this object, this low poly object. So I'll bring up the one that I made earlier. Here's what I prepared earlier. I don't know why I sung that. Okay, so I'm going to show you, here's one that I prepared earlier, and there we go there. So I'll just hide that so you can't see it. So it's the Braemar, look, crest, emblem, the Braemar emblem. Obviously there it is there, you've seen it before, look down, it's on your ties, it's on your jackets, it's on your bags, it's on your everything, I think, that you own has this, so you're like branded. There it is there, so I'll just move this across, okay, and move this, and let me just show you. So that's obviously what I've kind of modelled in low poly, and I know you're going, oh, it's the Braemar symbol, but look, it's a really good way, it's a really kind of a good starting point to model something, okay, because it's flat, it's easy to do, and it'll build those skills. So the whole point here is just to build those skills to do this, so then when you start getting into the next lessons, you'll know what to do. So this is level 1. So I'll have that Braemar logo there, and I'll also have this finished file as well, which you can open up and have a look at too. Okay, so again, it's low poly, which is why you've got these straights here, and it's not a nice curve. Okay, because I'm building a low poly model. So we'll just switch that to wireframe, and you can see there I haven't really got much in there at all. So that's level 1. Level 1. Like a sound effect, level 1. So what level 2 is, for those guys who want to do level 2, is same thing. So we watch this video, you can follow the concepts that I'm doing, but you don't have to model this logo if you don't want to. You can choose your own logo, your own emblem, you can design it yourself, okay? And you can model to that. So that's level 2. So level 1 is the Braemar one that I'll supply, and I'll also supply the original Blender file, so you can look at mine, so you'll obviously have more resources. Level 2 is using your own, you can design your own little logo or crest for yourselves, like Boschai, or whatever. You know what I mean. Garcia-io, trying to, no? The House of Garcia. House puppies. You get what I'm saying here. So you can design your own, that's level 2. And you'll need to get the image in, and you'll need to build it yourself. So you'll use the same skills I'll show you here, but to your own image. Obviously, you need to supply your own image. You also won't have this kind of my resource, my example file here to go off. So that's why level 2 is tougher. Anyway, so that's what we'll be building today, and I'm going to show you everything you need to be able to build, model, create. There we go. This Braemar logo. Okay, so we'll just put that back onto solid so you can kind of see it there. I'll just hide that example. There we go. And there it is there. Okay, and of course you can animate this, you can spin it around, you can do lots of fancy pants stuff with it. But here we go. So let's go File, New. File, New. And we reload that file? Yes. So by default, Blender will always do this 3 things for you. It will give you a box in the center. It'll give you this little sucker up here, which is a light, okay? Or a lamp is how they term it over here, and it'll give you a camera, okay? So for instance, if I go into View Camera and I go into the active camera, there it is there. So I'm actually looking through that camera. That's what the camera sees. Because like I said in the first video, Blender or any 3D program acts like you would on a film set. You use different cameras and different lenses and zoom in and zoom out and stuff like that. So there's your camera. So I'm just going to go View, back to my front view here. So there are our 3 items in the scene. So you don't have to have those, obviously. And remember, I'm using the middle click to spin around here, and that should be popping up. Obviously on this video, it'll tell you these buttons that I'm using. There we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring in the image that you're going to use as your base to model on. Okay, and there's a way you do that. So we talked about the add up here, and add and mesh is where you can add all these different items in. Okay, you've got curves, you've got surfaces, you've got all this kind of stuff, but that's where you add your shapes to begin with. Now, what you want to add is a thing called an empty. So you're going to add in an empty. Actually, first, let me just get rid of these. Let's get rid of everything here that we don't need. So I'm pressing X to delete. So if I right-click, select, X, delete. We want to add a empty, okay, which is an image, an empty image. There it is there. We then want to go into here. All right, choose our image, which I'm going to do as this. There's our image there. All right, turn the transparency down a little bit, and then go into the material, into the object properties here, scroll down, turn X-ray on. That's all done. Now we can lock it out. So now it's going to be sitting there. Then we want to add mesh and add a plane in, and there it is there. Now if I go to the other views here, if I go to my quad view, so there it is there. I can move it in front of it, behind it, okay, it doesn't matter. I can still see it through anything, okay, so if I move that in. So remember, right click to select and then left click to move, okay, right click and left click to move, so move that and move that there. Alright, let me go back to the top view and go back to one view. Alright, so now we're going to model this logo. So let's zoom in a bit, shift to zoom to move your view. Alright, so we go from our object mode, which selects that, into our edit mode. Now in our edit mode you can see we can now select things like these vertices, okay, I can move them around, I can do all that kind of stuff. So let's start building this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build half of it, and I'll show you why in a second. Alright, so let me just start doing this. So remember, right click to select, left click to move. Alright, you might notice that's a little bit tricky to see there because our image is still a bit bright, so let me just go back to that and go across just so I can select it, select that image. Okay, go into that there and just turn that transparency down a bit more. That's better. And lock it out again. Okay, here we go. So object, edit mode. So remember that's one you might forget a lot too. If you want to actually start editing this, always make sure down here you've gone back to edit mode. Alright, right click to select it, left click to move it. So we'll put that there, right click to select, we'll put that there. Oops, sorry, there I am pressing the wrong. Shift to move, I always forget that one because it's different to what I'm used to. Alright, move that there, right click, move that there. I'm just going to zoom in, shift to move, right click select, left to move. So you kind of got to get your head around all these button presses and move this and move that, and you'll get there. Okay, here it is. So we're starting to build this shape. So now obviously we need more cuts in here so we can start moving this a little bit more. So the easiest way to do this for this example is to get out the knife. Now if we go to the left side panel here, scroll down, make sure we're in edit mode, you'll see a thing called a knife, and if I select there you'll see a green dot, and if I cut in through there, click again, now you got to hit spacebar and it makes that locked. And now if I can select that vertice, right click select, left click move, I can start to move these around. So just like that, move it around. So like I said, you've got always going to make sure, so I'm just going to shortcut K to knife, move that there, select that, space to lock it in, right click to select it, left click to move, right click to select, left to move. Alright, and we're going to start building a few more of these. So again, there's your knife, but I'm just pressing the shortcut key, which is K. Select there, space to enter. Okay, move. Now remember, the goal of this is to be low poly, so we want to use as few polygons as possible. And that was one of the things that when you make video games, that was kind of like one of the trickier things to do. You had to be able to, right click select, you had to be able to make something as realistic, bless you Justin, make something as realistic as possible using as least amount of polygons as possible. So it's kind of a weird way of working, but it was pretty cool to try and do that, to try and make something as realistic as possible with the least amount of information. That noise was Winston, by the way. Yeah, that was tough to do. So I'm just going to do this fairly quickly. Okay, to bring up my knife, I might just do one more cut. I mean, I don't have to go straight down like I'm doing now. I can do something like I can cut from there. Whoops, so bring my knife back up. I can cut from there, for instance, and go to that point over there. Enter to put it in there. So it'll make a cut across there. You can see that's really done nothing for me. It hasn't added any extra points. So I'm just going to undo that. And I'm going to do another cut. Now, I wouldn't want to do a cut from, say, there to there. You can. So now you've got, if I select that, we've now got a vertice in there as well that we can move around, but it can cause a few problems because it's cut in the middle there. So we don't want to do that. We want to make it nice and clean, like I'm doing here. So knife, do one more, straight down, there, enter to put it in there. Okay, right click to select, so let's just zoom in here, shift to move, shift and middle click to move it around, and we'll just move that to there. Shift, middle click to move down. I'm going to keep repeating these things because it's the best way to remember it. And there we go. and there is half of our logo. Okay, now the reason why I'm doing half, which I'll explain in a second. Another thing we want to do here is you can see how this Braemar logo has like an edge, quite a thick edge around it there. Okay, so we want to get that as well, and I'll show you why I want to do that. I'm just going to move that up there. All right, so what we want to do is we want to select, so I've gone from vertex mode, okay, which is selecting the individual points, and I've gone to face mode, which is going to select the front faces. So right click to select those, and now I've selected all the front faces of this plane. So I can move those away, I can do whatever I want with them, because it's just one plane. I'm going to show you a new tool now. If I press Control and F, it brings up what's called the Faces menu. Okay, so that's Control F. And the easiest way to remember that is if you're working with faces, then it's Control F. If I was working with vertices, so if I go to vertex mode and press Control V, brings up the vertices menu. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my faces and Control F. Oops, Control F for your faces menu. And there's a lot of things in here that you can do. Okay, solidify, bevel, all of these things. But again, I'm only going to show you the stuff that we need. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you this one be called down here. Oh, I've lost it. Where is it? There it goes. Insert faces. Okay, and so if I click that and I move this across, what it's doing, you can see here, it's starting to, I'll just zoom in if I can do it. No, I can't zoom at the same time. So it's inserting those faces. It's getting a bit messy, and I'll explain that in a second. But it's inserting another line of faces within that. So I'm going to insert those in, and I'm going to move it down to about there, and then click it. All right, so now it's created a whole bunch of new little polygons. So I've made that line automatically. Now, if we zoom in here, we can see we've got a couple of problems. So because it inserted the faces from that side as well, you can see they're starting to lay to go over each other, but easy to fix. So let's go to our vertice mode. All right, select these vertices, and I'm just going to move those out of the way. Okay, go back up here. So again, it really is kind of move this stuff around. There we go there. So all we really wanted was to have this kind of border edge around there, which we've got. All right, so we've got these vertices here, which we kind of don't need, and I'll show you why. Zoom down here, and I'll show you the ones down here. So again, we really don't need these ones here, okay, because we want to have this nice edge across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to delete and dissolve these edges and vertices that you don't need. All right, so first one is this edge here. So we've got two edges, okay, that we only need the one. We only want to have the middle. So if I go to my edge mode and select that one, so right click to select, you've got that edge. So I can actually just go delete, oops, oh sorry, X for delete in here, and delete that edge, and it's gone. And now you can see we've just got those vertices that we want. Select that vertice, and we'll just move that across and move that down. There we go. We'll just go back up here, right click to select, left click to move, and we'll just move that up and across. And I can, while I'm here, I can just kind of clean those up. Okay, so now when we look at that, there is a much better version of our shield. Okay, we can go in here and we can clean these things up as well. You know, if you want to straighten these up, you can do that. It's not going to hurt. There we go. Make it look a little bit better. For instance, I might just move that over there and up. And there we go. Okay, so why are we building half of it? Okay, so why we only build half when we need to build the whole thing? Well, it's an easy one. Because this object is symmetrical, okay, which means obviously it's the same on both sides, you don't need to build the entire thing. You can just copy it, okay? And this is what you'll do with something like this. You'll also do it when you build characters, you know, again, faces are mostly symmetrical, so you'll only build half and it will build the second half for you and you can go back and change individual elements. But that's what you want to do. Saves a lot of time. So I'll introduce you to a new tool that we're using up here, which is called your modifiers. Okay, so it's the little kind of the wrench icon, and in there you've got a whole bunch of these modifiers. Now what these do is they will affect our object, okay? They go on top of it and they make changes to that object itself. But the thing is they're what's called non-destructive, so they won't change our original mesh, they just add this effect to it, okay? So think of it like an effect in Photoshop. So what we're going to do is add in a mirror modifier, so it's going to mirror it. So if I click on that, there we go there, and you can kind of see it just across there. If I change a couple of these things, There we go. If you turn that one on there, it actually shows you what the mirror, so that shows you kind of what it looks like as a whole. If I click that last one, like the triangle there, it shows you what it will look like. And so how that works is, if I now select a vertex here, there you go, you can see it's working on both sides, okay? It's just a mirror of what we're working on. So if I select that and change it out, it makes it a mirror of that, okay? So this is one of the most handiest modifiers that you'll use. You can obviously see that it's out of, it's not in the wrong spot. You want it to be a direct mirror. So that's easy to fix. We just go in here, select our side. So we're only going to have to work on this one side still. So you can select, I'm just going to go into my faces mode. Remember, B to select, you give you up the border selection. I'm going to select all those and that one, oops. And then we're just going to move that across and put it in there. There we go. That looks a bit better. And we can turn our clipping on a little bit as well. Oops. Sorry guys, I'm just going to go back a bit. Okay. Okay, and there is now our mirror. So again, if I go back into my object mode, you'll see the whole thing there. So I'm just going to move that across. There we go. And I go back into my edit mode. And there is our shield. So we can see we've got a mirror across. So again, if I go into any of these, go into vertex mode, select that, it repeats it on both sides. Okay, so that is how you'll save yourself a lot of time. All right, so let's kind of finish this off. So we've got these, all these polygons here. Now, if I actually go and rotate around here, you'll see that it's still just one flat. Use perspective. All right, let's just do it the quick way. There we go. It's just one flat plane still. Okay, so it's got no depth to it. It's got no real 3D to it. So I'm just going to zoom in. There we go. Get there eventually. Yeah, it's got no depth at all to this item. It's just flat. All right, so what we want to do is we want to what's called extrude these faces out to give them some depth. So I'm going to work in all four windows here, so you can kind of see this happening in real time. So extrude. So what we're going to do is you've got this extrude option out here. So we want to select all these faces, okay, and extrude them. So we go into face select mode. Now again, we can right click to select. I can hold shift and I can select them one by one. And you can see if I select one on the right, it selects it on the left. I can go in here, select all of these. I zoom in. And I can select all of those. Eventually we'll have a lot. Okay, so you can do that, obviously. It's a bit time consuming. I'm holding shift. The quicker way is to just use your, remember in your select, you've got your border select. So if I hit B, and do that, selects a lot. Okay, so now all my faces are selected. So now I can use this thing called extrude. Now if I click that, and I want to extrude a region, you can see in this view down here, and you can kind of also see it there, I'm actually extruding those faces. So if I go to about there and click it, there we go. So I now have more of a 3D shape. Okay, I've got a chunky kind of mesh going on there. So that's the first step. And now, second step, okay, so now that you can see we've got the mesh extruded, so we now have more of a 3D shape here. What I want to do is I actually want to get that that border, okay, that edge around our crest there, and I want to extrude that a little bit more. So it's the same process. So I've just got to go in here and select those faces. Now you can see this gets a little bit tricky now, selecting the faces, because you now have 1, 2, 3. You've got a top, a bottom, and a side. So what you want to do is kind of use those little squares. Okay, so each of those, if you can have a look, I'll just try and show you again. So those little squares, okay, are the center of the actual polygon there, okay? So if I go in there and zoom out, so this is where you need to be a little bit patient, okay? So I select there, select there. So you can tell there, for instance, I've selected the bottom one, okay? So you actually want to not select that and select the top one, okay? Rotate around. You'll kind of get an eye for it eventually, like knowing what is what, but yeah, you'll probably get a little frustrated at me. But that's where moving in 3D space, I mean, look at that, look how easy it is. You can just kind of move around, and that's what I want there, and that's what I want there. Okay, so we can see our crest there, and now we've got the border selected, so we do the same thing. We go back into our extrude region, and then we're just going to extrude that a little bit more there. Alright, and so now you can kind of see we've got that depth to it. Okay, so we've got that kind of 3D depth there as well, which is pretty cool. If you want to see this a bit better, I'll actually just go in here. This is your materials. Okay, so if I go into object mode and I change from wireframe to solid, you can kind of see it there. Okay, now I'll give it a material. So this is our materials here. I'm just going to add a new material. There we go. So you can kind of see it there. And there is our crest. So remember, we've only actually done half of this. We've only modeled half of it, but it's mirrored across. So now we'll just go back into our top view, and we'll do the little T, or the crucifix, if you want to be technical. So the same process again. So we go and into add mesh, and we'll add our plane. Okay. And again, there it is there. And we can just right click to select, left click to move, bring it down there, go into edit mode and select our vertices, right click to select, left click to move, and we'll just do this. Now I'm going to do this a slightly different way, and I'll show you why. So right click to select, left click to move, right click select, left click to move, right click, left click to move. Alright, and I'll zoom in there. So there is our kind of a crucifix there. I'll just move that across. Yeah, across, that was funny. Alright, and now we have just our plane there. So back into our faces. So you can see I'm trying to use a bunch of similar tools that we've used before. We go into here, we go into extrude, we extrude a region, and we'll just move that across. Now, if I go into our quad view, oops, view into a quad view, you can kind of see it hopefully in one of these views, this one here, there it is there. Okay, we've got that square. Alright, so we're back here now. So what we want to do is obviously do the left and the right part of it. So we can do it a couple of ways. We can divide it, and we can cut it, and we can pull it out, or we can build two separate. What we want to do is I want to show you how you can just add a cut into it. Okay. The reason why I'm showing you this now is when it comes to modeling characters, this is a really handy tool to know. So there's our box there, and if you go into your side panel, you've got this little option here called loop cut and slide, and what it'll do is it just does that. It cuts a loop around your box. So if I grab loop and I go over here, you'll see it's created this little kind of pink square, and if I click that, and then I can slide along that shape there to where I want to put it. So I'm going to put it about there, and then click, and there we go. It's now cut into that. So if I go into vertice mode, you can see it's created. I'll just move that across. It's created 4 new vertices around that. So that's cool. Let's do another one. So loop, cut, and slide. Back in here. Again, there's our little pink guide, and then we'll slide it there. And there we go. And so now we've got a cut in that original box. Alright? And so what we want to do is get those 2 arms coming out. So we go into our faces mode, right click to select, and we want to select the other side as well. So we'll spin across, shift to hold it, right click. Now we've selected both of them. And now we want to extrude, but we're going to do a different kind of extrude here. So instead of extrude region, which only goes in one way, okay, so undo that, we want to extrude individual. And so now you can see they're actually extruding themselves, okay? So they're both going out in their separate ways. So that's extrude individual. And click it there. Obviously my guide's on, so I can't see it. And there is our crucifix. So if I bring back our plane and our guide, I'm just going to go back to the top view now and just kind of fix it up a little bit. So view, top, and get it onto one window. Now that we're back in here, you can see I'm a little bit out in my dimensions there, so I just have to move these vertices around to get back into that shape that we want. So I can select those. Okay, so it'll be quite painstaking to select all of these at once. So remember, we can use our select, border select. So I'm just going to select that top section. So right click select, left click to move, and I'm just going to move those there. So B, select, move, oops. So you can see I've selected those as well. So let's just go back into our border selection. There we go. And move those there. Right click select, B, border selection, move those there. Right click to select, B, border selection, grab those, and move those up. And there we go. So we now have our crucifix as well. So you can see it's obviously a little bit high. So we go into our object mode, and because it's a separate selection object, we can do that. So right click select, left click to move. And I'm just going to put, there we go, solid on there. And there is our emblem. Now, I said logo again. So I'll just hide that example, which is that empty one there. Oops. I'm just going to turn the eye off so you can't see it. And there you go there. That's done. So that's some real basic box modeling, okay? Now, obviously I did that quite quickly and I still made quite a few mistakes, obviously, because you've got the left click, right click, all that kind of stuff to get your head around. So we're going to have 2 sessions to kind of work on this one, all right? And again, it'll be like, remember we did Photoshop, you know, you're kind of frustrated in the first lesson because you had all those tools to learn, but then by the time you get to the second, it just makes sense and it's really, really easy to do. So that's the plan. So there it is there. Obviously, you can create the lot. If we just go back in there, you can do the unum corpus multi-summus. You can do a little banner down there as well. You can model that as well. And the level 2 guys are obviously modeling their own logo. So there you go. So a quick recap on all the tools that we used, okay, because there were quite a few new ones that we did today. First up is you want to get in your image, okay? You want to get your image in to use as your guide. And that is by going into Add, scrolling down to Empty, and add an empty image, which gives you this box here, and then you go into your options there, choose open, and then find your image. Okay, so that was the first step. Winston, it's Winston, it's dinner time, lunchtime, and there's your image there. Then what we wanted to do is make it so that image could be seen through anything. So you go into your image properties, which is the cube, scrolling down, you make it an X-ray, so it can be seen through everything, and you also want to turn down, so back into that image there, turn down that transparency so you can see it as well. So right click select, left click to move. So I'm just going to move out of the way of our work there. So that was your first step, and once that was in there and you're happy with it, you then turn it off by using the little arrow and then it can't get touched. So that was your first step, and then your second step was starting to actually model this, which was by add a mesh and adding a plane, which is one just flat square. Okay, not even a polygon because it's just one flat mesh. So we did that as well. So right click select, left click to move. Then what you did was model this, okay, by using the vertices. So into vertice mode, so object mode into edit mode, and then selecting your vertices, right click select, left click to move. You move that around. You added more by using the knife, which is on the side here, by click, click. Once you're happy with it, spacebar, right click select, and then you move those around, so you did that. Once you had your shape, you then wanted to extrude it to give it some depth, okay? Actually, sorry, before you did that, you gave it the nice border, okay? And we did that by selecting the faces, so shift to select again, and then your new tool that we learned, which was Control F, so your faces option, and then we want to inset the faces, which move them in a little bit, so you did that. And of course, then we did our extrude, so that makes your flat objects stick out by adding an extra layer to it. So we selected the faces and then we chose extrude region and then we did that. Okay, and there you go. So they were the tools that we used. So you can also see it's hollow on the inside, which is cool too. They were the tools that we used today. And so you'll have obviously the rest of this session to start working on this and next session as well. And that is our outcome for this lesson, to create, let me get rid of that, your the Braemar crest in 3D. And there it is there. And that's it. So that should help you get all the tools that you need. All right, and then next lesson, after we finish this one, we'll start moving on to modelling some objects now too. Okay, so you've got those base skills. We'll start looking at starting to get into modelling a character. All right, so that's what our next lesson is, starting to model a character. But we'll talk more about that in the next video. So thank you for that one. It's a longer one, but yeah, hopefully that'll help you get your head around these. And of course, I'll be in class running through and reminding everyone how to do this kind of stuff as well. So cool. See ya. Bon Jovi.